All right, in the absence of Dave and Corbin, I have been asked to call the meeting to order. So the meeting is called to order.
Excellent.
Item number 1, new business. We need to approve the minutes from November 16th. Do we have a
Sorry to interrupt. Can we do a roll call real quick?
All right, so David Jorgensen, Corbin Hart, Michael Ellis,
Present.
Colleen Fellows,
Here.
Jill Geis,
Kesey, here.
Tony Pori.
Here. All right. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the November meeting?
I was mad that I wasn't here.
Yeah. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the November meeting? They were very short.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, North River and Southeast Park planning areas, or why we are here. And I will turn it over at this point to Trent.
So I apologize, I didn't put together a fancy presentation or anything. However, it's because basically whatever's in the memo is pretty self-explanatory. Just as a brief recap, since I know Dave was at the impact fee adoption hearing that we had back in March, but I'm not sure if anyone else was. So one of the things that happened, in addition to lots of commentary on pickleball, was a couple representatives from the Barber Valley Neighborhood Association, kind of asked the question of why is Harris North paying North River impact fees, which makes sense, right? I mean, you have to literally drive through Barber Valley to get to any of the North River parks. And so went back and forth with council a little bit and figured out, what, it does make sense to change that. However, the process to actually change it from like physically moving the boundary line on North River to get Harris North to fall within Southeast rather than North River, multi-year process, very convoluted. In a couple years down the road, Trevor's gonna say, oh, will it lock? No, if we don't probably open. Basically, just always open it.
You can,
Yeah. So make it sorry, and so Trevor is also going to, I think in 2 years from now, there's a general update to the park planning area plan. And so we'll be redrawing the line then. And even if we did an update right now, they'd probably still have to do the full update in 2 years. So the theory was, let's just change where we attribute because it's a Boise convention, right? It's not by state statute or anything like that. So let's just change where we attribute the fees collected from Harris North to, giving them to Southeast Barber Valley. That'll get them theoretically closer to Alta Harris sooner rather than later, because more funding will go there. And then, and obviously we're not in a position where we can advance a ton of fees to actually build that facility. So getting more fees into that fund is a good thing for that park. So as a result, there's two things that happen. So the first of which is a population shift, which is just moving a whopping 222 people from North River into Southeast. And then the other change, and this is the one that could still change a little bit, because it's just based on the fees to date. And so if we get some more fees in the interim, although I don't think there's a lot of undeveloped lots up in Harris North anymore. But anyway, the second part of the shift would move the 205,000 that we've collected already for homes up there, taking that out of the North River Impact Fee Fund and moving it to the Southeast Barber Valley Impact Fee Fund. And combined, in the memo, you can see that the effect of both of those is to raise the per person fees in North River by about 12% and lowering them in Southeast by about 10%, the nice thing there is that is raising the second lowest category and lowering the second highest. So reversion to mean. And in the memo, and I don't need to walk y'all through it, but it's because the easy way to look at it, right, is just the per person, because that's just one number, no matter what size category you're in. But there's the schedule that I did attach that shows, here's here's the current impact fee schedule based on dwelling sizes. And it also reflects the 13.1% annual inflation adjustment. So the top table in the top portion of each table in each instance represents the current impact fees. Not necessarily spelled correctly, apparently. And then on the bottom, that's the revised impact fees. So again, it's just that roughly 10 to 12% moving the people and the fund balance to the let's call it the correct planning area. So I'm happy to stand for questions. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and I apologize that I didn't have a formal presentation on it, but I just honestly didn't know what I'd present beyond what's in the memo.
Yeah,
Right.
makes sense.
I guess I could have had a prettier graphic for you guys, or at least a nice color printout of that. There you go.
Comments and questions. Thank you, Travis. Comments and questions. I did have one.
Sure.
And it was on the map, basically on the PPA boundaries. Looking at the map, I can see where Council Springs Road starts to climb up into the foothills there, and how all of this Harris North is within the pink boundaries. So obviously it's North River, and that lower pink boundary is where the Southeast Boise Valley is. What about development that's happening just to the east of Council Springs Road? My worry is, I guess let me phrase it this way. I hope we have a good definition of what we mean by Harris North, because the last time I checked, it looked like there's some landscaping and moving happening in the foothills just to the east of where the red rectangle is. And I want to make sure that we capture that at the same time.
So I'm not sure if that, and unfortunately, I don't know that we've got anyone, Trevor might actually know this. But we contemplated that it would also be Harris East
Okay.
development. I don't know if that's
The piece that I'm talking about.
the piece that you're talking about, but we can absolutely look into it to make sure that when we correct it, it's not great. We're set for
It
the
seems
next
like,
6 months and then we have to move it again.
Right.
yeah, it seems like we just go up and then all of that would be southeast.
Yeah, and maybe we phrase it when we actually take it to council and do the public hearing on it, assuming that there's a recommendation to proceed. Maybe we state it more generally, that it's the area of development that's north of, I guess that, I'm not sure if it's still Warm Springs at that point, but the road that stretches down there, that's basically the dividing line. Actually, I guess it's not Warm Springs because Park Center becomes Warm Springs again, but whatever it is, I guess it's Barber, right? Barber is the kind of the dividing line.
Right.
And so it's making clear that it's the things Harris North, Harris East, and if there were to be anything else in that other area there.
Well, maybe it would make sense to do it by geographic boundary, or like a road or anything east of X.
Yeah, I think it might, I mean, it honestly might be as simple as calling it north of Barber.
Correct. In anything perhaps east of whatever the access road is that goes into Harris North there. Should development happen in between the two pink, in that little wedge, basically, that's what we're
Right.
talking about, is anything in that little pink, between the two pink lines.
Well, but what about north of, all of that stuff on the left?
Oh,
Like, where's the dividing
So,
line?
so what you can't see is it does continue over, however, you know, trying to remember the name of, what's the name of the development that's right where Warm Springs turns south and then it becomes Barber?
Warm Springs Mesa?
It's
After that, so it's not the new stuff that's up
Oh.
adjacent to the Mesa, it's the stuff that's just probably 50 feet.
Pravada,
That's it.
and then
So
the very ones that are going in just to the east of that.
So that already is, if you expanded the map out, that already is the southeast planning area.
Okay,
So
so
when
it's
you
just
look
this
at it,
weird,
it's just this little weird bit here where it's, falls into the arguably incorrect spot.
yeah, okay. Makes sense to me.
All right, I think we need a recommendation to approve.
Excuse me, sorry, Tony, so are we not approving this, but are we trying to come back and say we want a different definition of what the boundary is?
I think we're ready to approve with the caveat that it's our recommendation that council clear up that boundary at the point. I mean, that would be my suggestion, since we can hand this to council and say, yes, it is a good idea for Harris North and any adjoining development for those funds to go into the southeast area.
And this is the planning area boundary is not done by a GIS expert.
You
That's
just put the
me doing a
box.
screenshot.
Right.
But I think what we contemplate, right, is draw that kind of a diagonal that goes from the upper left-hand corner of the red box, kind of to the diagonally that connects where the pink lines are. So
Oh, wait.
basically, so it'd be, I can demonstrate to the people in here.
Okay.
And I know that that's not perfect.
Use the mouse, Travis.
Oh.
Now with the mouse.
So we basically say, draw a line here and just say anything down here, whether we call it Harris North, Harris East, whatever it's called, that's just going to be credited to the southeast. And then that way, I think it clears up that ambiguity about, well, it's not technically Harris North, but it's also development that's immediately adjacent to that and other southeast. And then we're back here, not that long. I mean, from a Compass perspective, and the nice thing is it doesn't change the growth assumptions because Compass doesn't have growth out there. It's just the 222 people that effectively are already there. It's just, the fact that their snapshot was now a year and a half ago, it's almost 2 years. So it doesn't change any of the assumptions, any of the math, anything like that. So the fees are what the fees will be. It just will clarify where we're going to be drawing that dividing line.
I have a question, if I might. So just basically where you have on the map there, it says River North, right below there, you've got Pheasant Lane and South Vita Privada Lane. Those are two little developments that aren't owned by the Harris Company, but basically still benefit from the development down in that area. And they're right off of Harris Ranch Road. And right just to the west of East Warm Springs Avenue as the little spur comes down. Can we capture those as well? I don't know if they're fully built out yet.
Oh, and that's what we were saying,
Just a second ago.
yeah,
Go ahead, Travis.
the Pravada, that area, because if you scroll the screenshot that's up there to the left,
Mhm.
that's where that area is, and Pravada's already in the southeast.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it's just because once you start getting elevation, north, you start going into the other park planning area.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So can you tell us specifically what you want us to?
Yeah, so the recommendation, I wasn't here when we set the park planning areas, so I think the recommendation that we're looking for is that, does it make sense to attribute the fees collected, again, in that area that I inartfully tried to draw out on the map, but it's for current purposes, it is Harris North, right? But it's also that development that's to the south and east of there. Is it change the attribution on that to southeast? And then, you know, if you change the attribution, then the two things that are laid out in the memo follow, that the population shifts, fund balance doesn't have to shift, but we feel it's appropriate to shift it. And so as a result, these are the new fees. So that we'd actually have to have a public hearing because it's a greater than 5% fee change. So there'll be a public hearing on all this. I don't expect it to be nearly the event that the last one was. But the recommendation is just, again, we're kind of attribution, population shift, fee change, or fund balance and then fee change.
Okay, so the motion would be oops, that we move to attribute the fees from Harris North
Right.
and that other development as it develops from North River to southeast, and with the accompanying population shift and fee changes.
Correct.
Okay, I moved that.
So moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Tony, this is Dave Jorgensen. Can you hear me okay?
Dave, good to see you.
Thanks for joining.
Sure, just came in late. Sorry for being late. Couldn't get out of my other meeting until now. And I support all the discussion. Just want to, for the record, know that I'm here.
Great. Good to see you, Dave. All right.
Thanks.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Having no new business, I would look for a motion to adjourn. Dave, you can make a motion today.
Well, if you like, I'll do it. I'll move to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
I guess actually, and this is not, I'll have a formal item for it next time, but one thing that we did not do when we adjusted the annual fees, the 13.1, is we didn't look at what that means for fiscal year 23 projects. So for example, a fire engine, fire station, park planning areas are just a couple that I know are going to be over budget. So where it probably makes sense, to the extent you all agree, to increase the revenue budget, I guess from my perspective, the revenue budget, the impact fee budget, that by that 13.1%, so that the dollars are consistent, the nominal dollars, excuse me, the real dollars are consistent with what we had in the plan, just the nominal dollars have to be inflated by that 13.1%. So I'm not asking for any recommendations or approvals or anything like that, but just over the next month or two, that'll probably be the next thing that I want to discuss is, again, for those, it's really for those three activities that we know are over budget. You know, just to give you some perspective, when we ordered the fire engines, everything was up 20-ish%. So, you know, even the 13.1 isn't gonna cover it. Construction costs are up even more. So
Thank you. Dave, your motion still stands. So move to adjourn. Move a second.
I'll
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Stand adjourned.